Hello and Assalamu alaikum. Welcome back to the Scientia Magazine's Women in STEM series. Today I'm joined by Dr. Sara Sultan Aqib. Dr. Sara is a PhD graduate from University of Tennessee in energy sciences and engineering, and today we'll be exploring her amazing journey from a small village in Haripur, Pakistan, to now confidently presenting her research, helping multiple students and also getting an EB-1A Einstein visa, which is given to only the very best in their fields. So, Dr. Sara, very happy to have you here.
Thank you.
Yeah, so for my first question, I guess let's dive right in and talk about your upbringing and your background because I know that coming from maybe going from a village in Pakistan to presenting internationally, that's a huge jump in confidence and exposure and opportunities. So maybe you could talk a little bit about that.
Yeah. I am the eldest of five siblings, and by five siblings, I mean we are four sisters and one brother who was the youngest. Um, and everybody always made me feel bad about you don't have an elder brother and you don't have anyone to look after you. But my mom would be like, you are the eldest and you are the responsible one. You have to uplift yourself. You have to study hard. So I had a lot of responsibilities. I had to be that role model for my sisters to follow. And not only my sisters, for so many others in the village, in my family, because I had always good grades in school and they would always look up to me as well. So there was a lot of pressure on that end um, from my mom. There was this expectation, shouldn't say pressure. But, village is very conservative, no real facilities, no acknowledgement for women education either. No, acknowledgement is a small world, a small word. Um, I think never, no one liked that I am going to private schools. My grandmother would tell my mom that why don't you send them to government school? Don't spend money on their education and get them married. They should be married before graduation from matric. Like they should be married at such an age when you got married or when I got married. Why wait or stuff like that. But my mom took a stand and she was always like, they should go to good schools and they should get education. Um, Fast forward to when I was doing my graduation in physics. I studied physics in my bachelor's. Um, I always wanted to go to NUST, but I missed the deadline for application, and also there was this reality that I cannot afford this education, at least for now, and I cannot leave my hometown. I have to be there to help my mom with domestic responsibilities and to take care of my siblings and whatnot. So those few years I spent at home and I attended local college um, to do my graduation. But when it was time to choose my master's, I looked up to um, different professors that I came across, and one of them was specialist in energy sciences, and he told me about solar energy, and that was something. It just I don't know what word to use, but it was fascinating to me that how a natural source of energy could solve these crises. It could be an answer to so many hours of no electricity available. And so I started looking up programs for my master's where I could study energy sciences. And I came across a program at Energy System Engineering at NUST. Actually, I was only looking at programs at NUST. I did not want to go anywhere else. I applied, I got in, and that's totally new chapter of my life. I'm living in hostel all by myself. I'm doing research, which is very exciting. I have a have never done research before. I am taking courses online as well, trying to see being offered in MIT or Harvard through EDX. Um,
Mm.
so all of that, and um, there was a time. So, because you asked about the whole journey, it
Yeah.
really is a whole journey because that program I did not I couldn't afford that either. But it was a scholarship. I won a scholarship. It was funded by USAID. Because of that scholarship, that dream really became a reality. And there was another funding through USAID through which they would be selecting 20 students from NUST to go for an exchange program.
Wow.
And I got selected for that, and I came to Oregon State University. So that started whole another debate whether I should be going or not. My parents should allow.
Mm.
And again, my mom and my dad, they were really, really happy and they wanted me to go. But I had a lot of backlash, and it took me years to convince people that education is not as bad as they think it is. They did not have, yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, so because that was like a lot of time in like
Yeah.
one go, maybe we could divide it into two aspects and talk about your experience in the village in terms of what you would do. Would you do any extracurriculars? How was class participation like? Were you already like fluent in English? Because I know you told me that you went to a private school, right?
It was not like major brand name school. It was still a local school, but very good one in our area. And um, I was good, not as fluent in English as I am now, but they did emphasize on speaking good English, and it was a good school. My extracurriculars in school, really none, because school was very strict. Always you have to
Oh
study,
wow.
study, study. You didn't have much to do other than maybe playing badminton every once in a while. But I had um, a few things that I could do at home. I love going out on walks, morning walks. My mom used to take me when I was little. So when
Mm.
in my teenage, that became my thing.
Yeah.
Getting up and even my grandmother, the education part, we didn't align, but I was her favorite child in the house. And at night, she likes to sleep on the roof on her charpai. And I would tell her to bring mine too, and I will sleep there too. So we'll sleep under the stars during summers. And she gets up really early in the morning. But when she got up, she went downstairs, and I would get up when the sun is out a little bit, like there's light, that would wake me up. Dew drops on my face, and
Yeah.
just a new day and a beautiful day. From roof, I could see a beautiful scenery. We lived in a village in Haripur. It's not as hilly area as Abbottabad is, but you can see those hills from our
Yeah.
roof. So I would just stand there, do my breathing exercises, offer prayer, and then I go for a walk. That was my routine. Uh,
And that
and then,
seems like a very nostalgic memory. And you
yeah,
also
it
did
is.
your undergrad in the same village, right?
Yes.
So how was that? Like I'm pretty sure that transport must have been an issue, or was the facility that the university provided, and how were you able to make the most out of it? Because in a lot of places, students find themselves in less than ideal places where, I mean, they're wishing that they could have gotten more growth, but I truly believe that wherever you are, you can still make the most out of those opportunities, and clearly you did that.
Yeah. Um, I did not like to go to that college, honestly,
Mm,
because oftentimes I knew what teacher was talking about. or the other times I just couldn't understand what they are trying to say because they're reading from the book or like nothing new. So I found an academy, a tuition academy, where there was a really good teacher from back from my high school who was good in mathematics, and he was teaching double math classes. And I just took that academy, and that's how I passed my first and second year because I stopped going to college. I just
Oh
took
wow.
classes at that academy. In the afternoons, mostly, it would start at 2 p.m. Um, so my mornings were really after coming back home. I'm usually studying or helping my mom at home. I got more time back. I would maybe go once a week to the college to meet friends or just to
Oh
know
wow.
where the status is.
Yeah.
But other than that, there was no point of me going back in it was a postgraduate college, which are very common in Pakistan, affiliated with Hazara University. So they had so many students. Even in our class, I think there were 50 students. And so much discipline. Like you have to wear this uniform, you shouldn't wear these type of tops or earrings, no rings or like that kind of thing. I'm not a ring person, but I always had those small little tops. Even like when I
Yeah.
during my childhood, my mom pierced my ears, so both of my ears had those little tops. And one time, this teacher she forced me to take them out, and then it was humiliating the way she asked me, and then she asked me to pay fine, and then she would give it back, and then she warned me if I see
Mhm.
this again, I would not return you. Those are gold tops.
Oh
So
no.
all of that was so humiliating. I did not want to go back into that same place, which drains my energy, but I gain nothing from it. So
Mm.
Fridays were usually good days when there's not much going on and people are relaxed. So that day I would go to college, but other than that,
Yeah.
the academy, and also it was the same time when EDX came out. EDX is an online platform which has courses from MIT and Harvard, etc. I started looking up there what kind of courses they have, and I it's funny, I did not take courses in physics or mathematics in the beginning. I took the ones in writing.
Oh
I
wow.
did a course in creative writing, but it was a good exposure. It was a course offered by UC Berkeley, and that opened a whole new thing in my life where I still do that if I'm interested in business studies or project management, or whatever course it is. I would just go online and search about that on EDX, and sometimes I maybe don't have time to complete that course, but watching a few modules, that's my thing. And that's actually the key to me always being ahead of where I want to be, understanding where the world is going, what different um, courses, what different trends are there right now, and what I can learn to upskill. Um, yeah, so EDX was one of the things. And it was a simple life. Living at home has its pros and cons. The cons were that I had a little to no privacy, a lot of distractions, too many people giving their opinions, not really good facilities. If light is out, it's out. I have to use candles. Um, but the pros were that I didn't have to cook for myself. I had a support system available to take care of me as well. Um, I had a lot of time to myself. I could focus on my studies, my well-being, my hobbies, etc. In the evenings, I would again go for a walk on the roof and have my radio on. I love to listen to radio. I still listen to it. And that's when sometimes I would do my mathematics exercises, examples, stuff, and the radio is going on in the
Mm.
background. And 1 to 2 hours was dedicated to my writing, where
Oh, wow.
everyone went to sleep at night. I would just do journaling in my diary and sometimes brainstorm the poems or books that I want to write. I I always want to write, but my mom was like, you have to study sciences. You have to go in STEM. You can always do writing on the side, but don't make it your career. I
Mm.
did not agree to her in the beginning, but um, taking courses on EDX really changed my life. I took a course on solar energy by TU Delft, and I loved it so much that I was like, this should be my career. This is where I want to go.
Wow. And that's like such a journey in itself in just like that small span of time because you mentioned you didn't like the education system, but somehow you still developed that need to seek out more education and opportunities for yourself. And you were productive with your time. Like, I know that a lot of people can binge, but you use that time to learn courses and I feel like you were a very disciplined kid. Um, and was EDX one of the reasons that you then applied for NUST? Because sometimes when you're in a bad educational environment, you just don't feel like pursuing education anymore or don't believe in it as much.
I always wanted to live in Islamabad and I wanted to go to NUST. That was my dream, um, maybe when I was 16. Um, And because I couldn't go during my undergrad, I was waiting for that moment
Yeah.
when I'm done and when I'm applying and when I'm there. The only question was which course should I choose for my master's? Should I study physics? Should I go for material sciences? So I was very confused between a couple of different options. But when I took that course on solar energy, I was like, I am studying energy sciences. That's what I really should be doing. Where were you before? So that's what I started looking for on NUST portal. I I always say this, I always tell people this, if you don't like what you're doing right now, try to change your environment. That that's that makes a huge difference to your life. Even though I had a lot of support from my parents, they really did not understand that I need space, I need time. I had to wait for everyone to go to sleep to quietly focus on, reflect on the whatever I want to do. And journaling really helped. It was a time when I am trying to figure out what I did the whole day, what are my plans for the next day. It's kind of like now when I'm in my 30s and having job and kid, and I have so much
Yeah.
to do in my head and I don't have space for all of that in my head. That habit of journaling um, transformed into this different habit where before going to bed, I write my list of to-do things for the next day in my notes and I organize them into different quadrants if you're familiar with Eisenhower matrix to understand what is urgent and important and what else is not so I can
Yeah.
move that around. But that's an exercise for me to take it all out of my head,
Hmm.
know what I need to be done, but maybe what's not important. So focus on what I can do actually. I cannot do all of this. Um, if I don't do that, I can't sleep. It's always like I'm trying to sleep and oh God, I remember this is what's pending. I need to do that.
Yeah.
Uh, but yeah, that habit came from that journaling, and that journaling started because I couldn't get time for myself throughout the day. There's so much noise going on. When you're living in the village, there's but even my parents had no privacy. Like someone would just barge in on our house in the middle of the day, no purpose, nothing, saying hi. I was passing by. I think that's very common in rural areas of Pakistan. Um, and sometimes it's nice when I was on the vacation in October, I went for a couple weeks and I was laying there doing nothing. And if someone drops in, I was really happy to see them. But when I was there in my teenage, it frustrated me because I had to leave my desk, I had to leave my books and go meet those people, even though they met me 2 days ago. It's rude to not say hi. So
Yes.
out of those different things, they were distraction. And
Yeah.
as I said, we are so many siblings. That's also a distraction. If they want to watch a movie or want to play, I don't want to be left out. I have to go
Yes.
play with them. So I wanted to go to hostel. I wanted to explore what I want to do with my life, be with myself. Um, and another factor to that is I did not have many friends in high school. I
Mm.
only had two friends back and forth. When sections changed, I had a different friend. But I was very selective about friendships. If I didn't like someone, I would just not give myself permission to stay in that zone of being uncomfortable in high school. Things changed when I moved out and was on my own because I feel like there you don't have really high stakes and you have a lot of options to choose from or a lot of people to support you. So that's
Yeah.
different dynamic. But because I did not these I still don't understand. Either I was too focused on my studies and what my mom's expectations are. I did not seek out friendships, or I was too I'm that kind of person who likes to be in her company. I haven't figured it out which it is, but maybe it's both.
Yeah.
Uh, so I wanted to be alone in
Yeah.
my hostel or in a place where I know nobody, no one knows me. I can start a new
Oh wow.
life. That
Yeah.
really was my thing that,
A
okay,
very
this is the
drastic
place.
shift.
Yeah,
And
this is a place where nobody knows that I have these expectations or nobody knows what my goals are, and I can choose who I can be with and
mhm,
start a whole new life with whatever persona I want them to perceive about me.
yeah. And you mentioned that you when you came to NUST, like it was obviously a huge changing experience in teachers, in the environment, in the friends you were meeting, in the persona that you wanted to adopt. What was the excitement like at home or how you dealt with the backlash? And you mentioned getting an exchange opportunity, right? So you must have been a productive master student to get that opportunity. So maybe you could talk a little bit about that.
My parents were happy when I got the admission, but they were really quiet because they didn't know how I would manage the finances. They did not want to break my heart, but they tried to say that we cannot afford it. What are you thinking there? And
Mm.
I said, if I'm not able to get scholarship, I won't continue this. So you have to trust me on that. They did, and they were okay. Um, because I already was good in studies, and it was that point where I wouldn't listen to anybody. I was adult. I
Yeah.
already had spent 4 years at home um, during my undergrad, and everybody was tired of telling me at that point that stop studying or not find a partner. I learned to ignore all of those advices because there were so many voices, so much noise, and it becomes a moot point at that point, right? Where you are like, what I'm even going to say to them. And my parents both were financially independent at that time as well. Like my mom was a school teacher. She actually not a school teacher, she had her own school at that point.
Oh,
Um,
wow.
yeah, when it was 2 years old, the school was 2 years old. So she was in a position where she could really, really take a stand and tell everybody no. And so was my dad. So dynamics changed a little bit in terms of how others influence me. Um, the major problem was my then um, fiance, or the person I was committed to. Um, I was in relationship with that person for a long time, maybe 6, 7 years at that point, and he had a lot of influence on my mom as well. So whatever he would say, my mom would listen to it. Um, but I managed to, and I had learned tricks by then. I managed to keep him out of those discussions. I did not tell him when I went for the interview, when I applied. I only told him when I um, got the admission. And he was like, I didn't know you even applied. And I said, what are you talking about? I talk about this all the time. Like there's a lot of history.
Yeah.
He has been gaslighting me and controlling me in so many ways. And
Mhm.
after so many years, I learned those tricks to take stand for myself and um, really, really prioritize myself and my well-being. So I was not ready to take any BS, anything that would stop me from going to NUST. Um, yeah, there were some conflicts, but I made it work. And my sisters were the ones who were so happy because they would get to visit me in
Yeah.
Islamabad. We all loved Islamabad. We are very close to the city. Maybe now it's 1 hour away or 1.5 hour at most. Um, but because my father used to live abroad for a longer period of time, maybe 20, 25 years, he was in
Oh,
Saudi Arabia.
really?
Yeah. So we used to go to drop him off or picking up from the airport.
Mm.
And just entering that city, now imagine there is no metro at that time. It's still green, but that was a different kind of green. When you enter the Kashmir Highway, there was roundabout, and that whole roundabout was grassy and flowers. It was so
Yeah.
beautiful. The moment we entered that area, I was bursting with emotions, and I still am whenever the plane is going through. Um, like now the airport has changed, but the previous airport we would um be going above the Amnico area, and I would lose control at that moment. I would start crying. Um, so we love to go there, and my sisters were very happy. And the first day when they were going to drop me off, I I cannot explain that in words. It was kind of dream come true. I am emotional not because I'm for wrong reasons. I'm not emotional because I'm leaving my family behind and living by myself. I'm emotional because I'm finally at a place where I wanted to be.
Yeah.
Uh, I recorded a podcast with at NUST, and they asked me the same thing, what it was like when you were here the first night, the first day. And I told them that I took my diary and I went outside in the hostel. There was this green patch, the lawn, I sat there and I looked around and I started crying. And
Mm.
I just jotted down what I'm feeling, what the view looks like, and what my dreams are from this place, what my expectations are when I graduate. So that was a beautiful time. Of course, that honeymoon period, it ends
Mhm.
in a while, but I
Mm.
think I was over the moon for first 2 or 3 days. Like every morning I would get up, go for a walk around the hostels wearing nothing but that sleep suit from that night that I sleep in, the pajamas. I don't care. No one knows me, and even if they did, they don't care what I'm wearing. That's the
Yeah.
first time I'm feeling that freedom after moving out from the village. And when there is like time to go to the campus classes, actually, um, that is very interesting as well. My school was part of the architectural building. We did not have our own building at that point. Um, it came like it started 2, 3 years after I started school there. So for a long period of time, on one hand, there was architectural department and classes going on, and on the other hand, my own classes, which I love. But did I mention I love arts as well? I used to make my own different things. I still make my own soaps and candles and decor
Wow.
stuff using that,
Uh-huh.
what do you call it? Resin art.
Resin art?
Um, yeah, and painting. I used to paint a lot, glass painting especially. There still are so many crystal bowls in my house that are painted by me. I would pick
Oh.
anything to paint. So I loved. I imagine the first day I entered the door and there's someone doing a project on architectural design or something, and I'm in awe because I'm
Oh.
like, that's where I will take my classes and I get to see this as well. And I went in and I asked them what it's about and um, if there are any activities that I can participate in, let me know. And they asked me to join the fine arts club, which I did. And at some point, there was a competition where I got to work with
Mm.
architectural students for about 3 to 4 weeks and developed a project. Um, am I speaking too much? Am I
Mm,
sharing too
it's
much
perfectly
details?
fine.
Yeah,
I
that
feel
project.
like these
Um,
little details are what can connect to other kids or other females who are from, different backgrounds and different,
yeah.
um,
Yeah, I always feel like everybody has 2 or 3 different personalities living within them. You
yeah.
have so many different hobbies, and there should be a way to channel them out. When I was at NUST, my way of doing that was book club and fine arts club,
Wow. Okay.
and
That's so
a lot
cool.
of like physical sports through
Yeah.
hostel and gym, etc. So this is interesting. When I started working on that fine arts project with the architectural group, we were supposed to make something that holds light.
Hmm.
It was a fire sculpture that we were supposed to make. And I was thinking about the concept, and I said, why not we create something that we name Desire? And it would be like a cone, that Sankey diagram. Are you familiar with the Sankey diagram?
No, but you can tell me about it.
Yeah, I can tell you the reverse Sankey diagram.
Yeah.
If you have a large amount of data, and let's say you were to plot what is the energy mix of Pakistan, how
Mm.
many different renewable energy resources are there. So you start with the major chunk, which is main energy, and then you divide it into this is solar, this is wind.
Mm.
So when you see it, it feels like I forgot what that calls the Bernoulli theorem or something, where it's a small nozzle and then it
Okay, it
grows
expands like
and
that.
then expands like that.
Yeah.
Yeah. And the idea is uh, the smaller part, the light or fire or whatever, the pressure is lower,
Mm-hmm.
it moves faster. But when you go into that expansion part, now the pressure is, sorry, I misspoke. Pressure is higher here, pressure is lower
Okay.
here. So now it's slowly, slowly, slowly expanding. That
Mm-hmm.
expansion became slower. And I thought that represented desires, that um, we have burning desires in the beginning when we don't have what we want to achieve, like dreams, whatever we have. And then it grows, grows, grows over the time. When we achieve that, we collect that thing. But then there's new thing, new thing, new thing. And
Wow, that's
because
beautiful.
now, yeah, now there are times when we slow down a little, absorb one thing, then move to another. So that whole sculpture that represented desires over time. And we used a bunch of materials like cotton, soaked it with the kerosene oil, and when there was the actual event, we light up fire on one end. And that's also one thing I learned, that make space for light. Sometimes people are like, I want to do this design, that design, but you forget that there is a part that could be empty, but that would be the whole,
Highlight.
yeah, that's the main show. So it was very beautiful, and our project, I think, won second prize because um, the idea was to let fire move around for as long as it could,
Mhm.
and we made it work. Um, I think it took like 15 minutes or something for that whole thing to
Whoa.
catch fire, and it was beautiful. I don't have pictures. I lost
Oh, I
my
was
data,
just
but
about to ask you.
yeah. Um, so yeah,
Yeah.
channeling my hobbies
Mhm.
into fine arts club.
Yeah, there's one thing that my professor says is that if there's 10 dishes and if you never try those dishes, you will never figure out what's your favorite dish. And so I know that a lot of people, at least in my experience in Pakistan, may see hobbies as a distraction from your careers or your goals or
Yeah.
education. But I truly believe they supplement your learning. They help you learn about yourself. Because without my hobbies, I never would have ended up in bio.
Yeah, they do. I
Mhm.
actually want to do a podcast where I want to interview different PhD students and ask them what their hobbies are, because if
Yeah.
I did not have hobbies, I wouldn't have finished my PhD. It was the
Mhm.
hardest part of my educational journey. At um, some nights, I was crying because I didn't know where it was going. I didn't know if I would be able to finish that. And
Mhm.
then I would tell my sister that, okay, I'm so stressed, but I'm going for a vacation. So I would go for camping for a couple days, forget about
Wow.
everything, just
Yeah.
unplug. And when I came back, I often had the answer to the question where I was stuck at.
Mm.
So it's really interesting how um, exploring yourself, exploring your hobbies, get things done, and people don't realize that. But PhD puts everyone, I think, into an existential crisis where
Yes.
like, I'm doing this thing, this one research for 5 years, this
Mhm.
dive deep into a single um, thing that probably no one in the world cares about.
Yes.
Why am I
Very
even
niche.
doing this? I will be graduating in my 30s, and that's half of my life, you know?
Mhm.
Most people die at 70 or something. So your half life is already done, and you're still
Uh-huh.
doing a PhD. You are underpaid, you are overworking, your mental health is,
Out
and
the
your brain
window.
is all over the place. So you keep asking yourself, why did you start this? Why are you doing this? Why don't you stop? Why can't I just master out and
Mhm.
get away? Why don't I just not finish my PhD? What would happen then? And then I would like remember why I started. And no, I do want to finish this. And that all happened. Like there were times when I wrote an email to my advisor and put it in draft, and I was about to say that I'm quitting.
No
And then
way.
I would sleep on it, and I was like,
Yeah.
no, I can't quit this. Someone else would do my research. No, I can't let that happen. Um, so I think hobbies played a huge role in how you see yourself and um, understanding what you really want to do with your life. During my
Yeah.
PhD, I tried many different things. Like I
Mhm.
told you, I make my own soaps and candles, and at
Yes, yes.
some point I was like, why don't I just quit PhD and do this for a living?
Yes.
Or why don't I quit PhD and start writing a book and become
Mhm.
an author for a living? There were so
Mhm.
many options, and I explored a little by little, all of them. I would set aside some time for my writings. I started my own blog, and I
Mhm.
figured out, yes, I want to do this, but this is a hobby. This is not career. Yes, I
Yeah.
want to make soaps and candles, but this is just to have a good hygiene product at home so I can feel proud of myself, but this is not career.
Yeah.
And all of that reiteration, trying different dishes.
Mhm.
Um, I I teach about that a lot in my blogs or people who take consultation from me, that you first need to figure out what you want to do, and you don't
Mhm.
have to have answer the very first day. It could take 2 years, 3 years, 4 years, and it would be okay. It
Mhm.
took me that same amount of time, and with my help, maybe it will take you less, but um, the only thing that you can do is keep doing things that you like to do
Yeah.
and keep filtering out things that don't fulfill you. There
Mhm.
were a few hobbies which I still like, but I don't want to work for them. I don't want to spend time learning photography and videography buttons and stuff. I I take help from my husband to set exposure and whatnot, but I want to take the good photo.
Yeah.
So there are parts of your hobbies which you want to,
Mhm.
which you like to outsource, but uh, and then people, surround yourself with people who uplift you, and it goes for everything in your life. Your PhD peers or your supervisors, your friends, people whom you live with as a roommate. Some of them you cannot choose, you don't have control over, but you have control over your time. You can spend less time with them, you can disconnect with them emotionally, if even not physically, but try
Mhm.
physically. And let's talk about the EB1A thing. When I
Yeah.
started working on like that's there were so many things in my profile. And immigration is a huge problem in US. Immigration system is brutal,
Yeah.
as you might know. When I started thinking about applying for EB1A, I knew my profile is good. I knew it has merit. And the one thing I absolutely knew was US needs skills like I do. US needs a person like me. So they have to give me this visa, else it's their loss. That was my mindset. But when I started speaking to lawyers, they don't see immediate impact. They see numbers and they don't find good numbers in my profile, like citations are normal,
Mhm.
um, number of peer reviews are normal. So because my profile was not about quantity, it was about the qualitative impact, a very huge impact. I created codes and standards for California. My research was being used by a national lab to update their
Wow.
softwares. My research was being used by a couple of startups to start their own businesses, and they received fundings. So I was always about impact. I did what I did, but who is using that and what are they using it for? That was the whole summary of my profile.
Mm,
And not only lawyers did not see that, they were very discouraging. They would keep telling me that wait for a year until you have a good profile. Right now you are not there. And if I were you, I would not waste my time or money. Um, that was not only, I find it disrespectful a little bit
mm,
because they were not putting thought into it. They were just seeing the profile that is easier for them,
mm.
not a profile that they can build story around.
Yeah.
So I was like, I won't get a lawyer. I would do this myself because I don't think anyone else can do it.
Mm.
And hours on that petition. I think in total we spent 6 to 7 months just writing that petition,
Wow.
then 2 months to collecting the evidence and putting it all together. I started thinking about EB1A in August 2024, um, and started building my profile, like sending out emails to different judging committees if they need my expertise, and a lot of them said yes. There's a huge competition in US called Solar Decathlon. That's a very big international competition. About 139 countries participate in it. And
Wow.
I thought I'm doing a long shot when I sent email to uh, NREL, National Renewable Energy Lab. Um, but they were like, yes, we want you, and I was judge on that competition. I applied for more judging reviews, but also a couple of awards that I could nominate myself, and I got the nomination. So I used all of that, and then a couple of keynote speaking opportunities, etc. Um, I
Just to
think
cut you off at this point, because I've noticed the trend in you pursuing opportunities without maybe fearing failure, but also trusting yourself more than other people trusted you. So I
yeah.
know that's really hard for other people, especially with imposter syndrome. So how did you get around that? Because I feel like even
I
when I'm
think
looking at
yeah.
opportunities, I feel I reject myself before other people can.
Part of that was the background. I was not given the opportunity, and I was always being, always there was a resistance. And people who would resist me, or who would tell me not to seek opportunities or not to study, they were actually waiting for me to fail.
Mm,
They were always looking out for my mistakes. So I absolutely had to make sure whatever I'm pursuing, I have the guts to do it. One of the reasons, it's a silly reason, whenever I want to quit my PhD, one of the reasons was that what would all those people think who said that I cannot do it? It's a
mm,
silly reason because you should not be caring about what people say, but it felt like I will let down all those women who are looking up to me in village and my sisters who believed in me. If I stopped believing in myself, I would be doing them a disservice. So that was one thought. The other thing that really helped was just putting myself out there. I was in second year of my PhD when there was a competition at Duke University. My advisor did not tell me about it. I just came across, and without even asking him, I applied. And he was happy that I took that initiative, and I came runner up in that competition, um, beating UC Berkeley students or Duke University students. So he was really happy about it, and that set a foundation for my whole PhD that I just have to try. I don't have to win. I don't have to
Mm.
think about where it would lead. So I kept this goal that I will publish at least one conference paper every year.
Oh,
Um,
wow.
and I would apply, I would send my abstract to different conferences.
Mhm.
And I was never rejected from a conference. I I think I was lucky to have selected a good research topic, which brings me to this discussion as well, which is, I think, part of that imposter syndrome thing. My advisor asked me what I want to work on. He laid out different topics that he had funding for. And I said, I don't want to work on something that's just exists in publication and my thesis in the library. I want to work on something which the world will be using,
Mm.
something that has an impact, maybe in terms of a commercial product or policy. And he said, okay, I don't have that kind of project right now. Like I have a project which you can work on, but I don't have the implementation part. But we can write a proposal and we can get to that because that's really interesting. We have everything that we need. We just need to ask Department of Energy. Oh, did I mention I worked at Oak Ridge National Lab as for my PhD research, and my supervisor was an R&D scientist at ORNL.
Oh, so research and
So
development.
yeah, so a lot of our projects came from Department of Energy. And it that was a huge deal for EB1A as well because they give visa to people who have worked on good projects that had funding backed by government institutes. So anyway, we applied and we got that project by DOE, and that set a foundation for my PhD as well. That whenever I wrote an abstract, there was a clear impact. There was a clear answer to why we are doing this. So my abstract would always get accepted to the conferences, and I just started going out there and started presenting. My first oral presentation, it actually was a review paper, not even a research paper, and I was feeling really bad about myself that I could not get the results finished in time to be able to complete my research paper. I submitted two abstracts to that conference. And I was like, my advisor would be disappointed in me because I am just presenting this review thing. But I did not give myself that grace that even that review, it was very extensive and we did a lot of analysis, data analysis, comparing different results from different researches to make a point and which point was actually valid. So when I gave that presentation, my advisor came and hugged me like that, and he said, "I am so, so proud of you." And I was like, "Okay, what did you like?" And he said, "You were prepared. You knew what audience would ask, and you were not standing there giving them answers. You were going back to the appendix diagrams and showing them the answers." And that's what a scientist must do. You do not give opinions, you show them the results. Um, and that was a valuable lesson because I did not think it that way when I created my presentation. I was just thinking, oh my God, if someone asked a question and I forgot about what what the answer is, I should have a diagram in the appendix or something to show them that. But the way he explained it to me, I carried that throughout my PhD, and that's how I became this storyteller person where I'm someone who always thinks in terms of impact, in terms of show, don't tell. That's the biggest rule of journalism and good writing, that you
Yeah.
don't tell, you show.
Mhm.
Um, that all of that, it helped with imposter syndrome. I felt like I have something in terms of impact. My work is important, and I have been in spaces where there were national lab scientists sitting in front of me who had years and years of experience, and they liked my research. They liked my work. They clapped for me. They cheered for me. They came to me after my presentation, asked me questions. So I was always reading into those situations where people liked my work. Who was that person? Why was he interested? And what did he like about my work? All of that I put into my petition.
Mm.
I explained my research like that in my petition. And it wasn't like I did not have imposter syndrome. I did have, but that wouldn't stop me from not trying. I always say this, don't disqualify yourself before someone else does. That's not your job. Your job is to present yourself. You qualify or not, that's not your job at all. Don't try to do other people's work.
I love that. I love that. It's like an entire theme. You connect every part of your life in such a beautiful way. And I feel like hearing you talk feels like you're someone who leads with wonder. You're curious, you look forward to different opportunities. What are you doing right now? Like after the PhD transition, I know that you applied for the visa after your PhD, I believe.
Yes.
So how is the job search? Where are you right now? How does a regular day in your life look like?
Yeah. I I had a child right after graduation. Um, I moved to California after my PhD, so that whole month
Mm.
I passed my defense. I gave my defense. 2 weeks later, we moved to California. 3 weeks later, I had my child.
Wow. Oh my gosh.
That was that whole everything packed in 1.5 months. But again, my job search, I didn't have to search jobs at that time. Um, because a year before, I was at a conference where I presented, and someone reached out to me and said, would you be interested in exploring this job opportunity at our firm? And I said, yes. And at that time, I was thinking I would graduate in December, so I told them maybe 6 months after from now on, I'll be ready to take on that job. Um, but it did not happen, and I emailed them that, hey, if you want to look for another candidate, because my graduation has delayed and I don't have results that I was expecting I would have. They waited for me, and it felt like they did not have immediate need, but it was an opportunity thing because they wanted me there. Um, and I feel one, I was lucky that that recruiter was present in my presentation, and the other, I created that opportunity because I put myself out there and I presented. So both go hand in hand. By the time I graduated and had my child, I did not have to spend hours and hours into job search. I already had that job lined up, and it was remote, fully remote. The only problem with that was it was very underpaid, but because I wanted to make this shift from hardcore engineering to policy analysis,
Mm.
it set that foundation for me. And then because of my husband's job, we were in California. And I was like, now we are in Sacramento. There is California Energy Commission, which is the best place that you could be if you want to work on policy. I applied there. I got a senior position, good salary, kind of a dream came true. Very
Wow.
good, a very good kind of work that I really want to be doing at that time. I wanted to develop these policies. I was like, yeah, it's cool that people use these codes and create research out of this, but what if, like, who writes these codes? Who develop these codes? I want to be that person. So I worked for them. It was a good experience, but government jobs have their own ups and downs, and
Yeah.
political environment changes a lot of things. So when Trump came, they took away a few projects that I really liked. And I was like, that would keep happening. A few other reasons as well. It's same situation like Pakistan in government place. Like people are there for like 15, 20 years. They're set in their ways. They don't want to change. They don't innovate as much. So I found a company who is now doing consultancy for the state of California. I'm working on same codes and standards, but previously I was working on just the implementation part, like how to make sure they're feasible and who are the stakeholders, etc. But now I really am the person who figures out what kind of things we want to see in the code. And I tell I'm an advisor to the state of California. And not only state of California now, we do this for New York, for federal code, for a
Wow.
few other agencies. So I really love my job because it's a good mix between academia and industry.
Yeah.
I get to do this policy work, get to do the some energy modeling work as well. But then I collaborate with scientists and professors in academia. I help them write proposals for their projects, and I score and review those proposals as well. Then I work with their grants and manage their research students sometimes. So it's a good mix. I get
I
to,
can imagine.
yeah.
Really packed day. Really packed life, mashallah.
Yeah, thank
And you did an interview with Publication Academy, and you mentioned that the first job you had, would you have taken it again if you would have gone back? Because in that interview, you did mention that having a transitionary job is really important when you're making that shift from academia to, industry.
yeah. Yeah, I think that is important. If I jumped right into a senior role, probably I would have survived, but it would have been difficult with a child. The entry level job, I was always trying to see, okay, where is their money coming from? Who are their clients? What are they actually trying to provide to them? Because no, I was in that job, I was that person who is onboarding, who is trying to learn everything, but also my role was not as senior as I wanted it to be. So I was doing so many different tasks, like managing a newsletter or managing the interns, doing energy audits. So I got a vast set of skills during that job, but also an understanding into that policy world, how it
Mm.
works, what the policymakers want to look into. So when I actually became the policymaker, I had that inside view of things already.
Yeah, so smoother transition. And it's amazing to me that you've been doing all of this, but like you've also been doing peer reviews and work in your actual job, and then I believe you still have hobbies and obviously with the family and everything. So how do you manage your time but also avoid the mom guilt? Because I know a lot of mothers face that guilt.
Yeah,
I'm sure you must too. So
yeah. Peer reviews, etc., are now part of my job, so I don't have to do extra work to do those. But everything else, um, I give me a second. I know. Sorry.
it's okay.
Um, yeah, peer reviews are part of my job, but what was I? Yeah, the reason I like this job because I don't have to spend extra hours that I used to do before. When I was at California Energy Commission, I had to spend extra hours writing publications, collaborating with ORNL on my thesis work to publish more papers. I like to do all of that stuff. But now that is part of my job, so love that part. And that gives me back a lot of my time, which otherwise was going into petition writing, etc. And I stopped looking for new jobs as well because now I'm set in my ways, so getting back a lot of my time. Um, that also gave me more opportunity to spend on my hobbies. Um, I am this crunchy mom who wants to have sustainable lifestyle, and I made this huge lifestyle change where I took out all the plastic, swapped all the cookware with cast iron and stainless steel. Um, I make my own vinegar, my own jams, and so many canning stuff, home cooked things, bread even, that I don't want to feed my kid things filled with preservatives and artificial dyes. So he changed a lot into my life in terms of diet and hygiene. He was the person in my life who changed that for me because I did not want to feed him crap. So that became my hobby as well. I like to make new stuff. It's like I'm channeling my love for chemistry. I used to love chemistry when I was little, but I had to choose maths and physics because I was a pre-engineering student, not a medical student, and at that time I had limited options. So anyway, I channel my love of chemistry and arts together in all of that. And I started writing a book of mine as well. Whatever I
Oh,
explained to
wow.
me in the podcast, that will
Yeah.
be in that book. We are on
Mhm.
chapter 3. I have an editor who is helping me develop that. It's a developmental editor. So we are on chapter 3. There will be 6 chapters, and we are envisioning it will be out next spring.
Oh, wow. Okay.
So
Looking
that's
forward to it.
yeah, that's major chunk of my weekends. And I started focusing on video production as well. As I mentioned, we are thinking about podcast.
Yes.
I recorded 2 episodes with my husband, and I have a few lined up in UC Davis and then UC Berkeley. I
Mm,
wanted to be academic scientists, but they're
mm.
deep dive in their life, most fun part of their life. So looking forward to that.
Yeah. And I feel like that's really crucial because that makes people see that if you're in academia, you're not just in academia. You need another life around you to make you do better at academia because that creativity then channels into your work.
Yeah. And also, I feel like people try to do so many things. Like I try to do so many things, but when
Yes.
my kid was born and when I had this job that I like, I stopped hopping, stopped looking for more opportunities, and that's when I really stop myself and figure out what I don't want to do anymore. I
Hmm.
used to do these study abroad consultations and webinars, etc. And I'm like, I'm putting stop to that. That's way beyond, um, that has been stretched way beyond I would like it to. And so many other few things that I stopped doing. So that's my one advice, that while you are trying to figure out what you want to do with your life, you're trying to figure out your hobbies, etc. You need to be very careful and mindful of things that are not suiting you anymore, that used to be your hobby once, but it's not helping you anymore. You need to take that off of your plate because time is short when you are in your 30s.
Yeah, and just as important as consistency is for polishing a hobby or like discovering your passions, it's just as important to recognize it's okay to have a deadline to those hobbies and those interests because you only have one life. Might as well be a frog and jump around.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah. And two last questions before we end the podcast, and it was a wonderful conversation. Um, what is one message that you might give to your younger self who may be watching this, from some village in Lahore or some other place in the world, and who may be looking forward to walking the path that you have walked?
I would say look back what your life looked like when you were 10, 11 years old. What you wanted to do then. Is it still in your life? If not, try to bring it back because when we are that age, we are very creative, very energetic, and there is less influence, less noise, and we are only doing things that we want to do. So if you have been distracted since then, try to go back to that life, and that will bring the element in you. And I would also repeat one thing, that do not disqualify yourself. Do not do someone else's job. You keep doing your job, focus on yourself. I feel like people think, if I study this, this has a lot of scope, or if I do this thing, this has a lot of scope. Scope is of person, not a degree. It's always you who would have a scope. And person means your skills, your background, your perspectives, your creativity, your different experiences that you bring together. And sure, your degree or whatever you research you were working on. You are a combination of all those things, and that's why you are a scope. So when you are looking for a new job or a new opportunity, think about how you can apply your perspective and your skills into this, because world needs diversity
Yeah.
and different perspectives.
Be yourself because everybody else is taken.
Yeah,
And I know that you do consultations, and what if someone wants to reach out to you? So how do they connect with you? Or
sure.
maybe even become a part of your podcast?
Yeah. I have email that is very different from all the other emails.
Hmm.
That's just my username at gmail.com, Sara Sultan Aqib, Sara without H.
Yes, we can mention that in the description.
Yes, I am. If anybody calls me Sarah or puts H after my name, I'm offended. So that
Remember
is
that.
my that is my email. Um, you can reach out if you are a PhD student in US, especially right now. I'm thinking about in California only, and then New York next spring. So I'm doing these podcasts in person, not online.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Okay. Wow.
So reach out if you want to be on my podcast, and if you are
Uh,
in UC, Berkeley, UC Davis, Stanford,
mhm.
whatever universities there are in California and in New York. And for consultations, Facebook and LinkedIn. I'm most active on LinkedIn, and I have my link. I don't right now, as I said, I am preserving my energy, so I don't go back and forth in messages to try to schedule anything. I just want people to go to my link and book, because my calendar is up to date. So yeah.
Yeah, that's lovely to know. So we'll provide all the links for the LinkedIn, maybe Instagram, Facebook, whatever, down below, and definitely reach out because she is an
And on that
amazing
note,
person.
actually, you can go to my Instagram and send me a DM, self, just write self in DM, and you will get my self-discovery guide that I put together. I put a lot of nuggets that I talked about in the podcast, but more comprehensive. Um, Please get that guide for free.
Okay, awesome. Thank you so much, Dr. Zara. And thank you for the listeners who are here and, we're invested in our conversations. Um, Allah Hafiz.
Thank you, Abir.